Hello, everybody.
Hello again, everybody.
Oh no, Bruntz is frozen. I was wondering how long you're going to be able to do that for.
I was going to say, for a second, I thought he was legit.
Shut the hell up.
On 1620 The Zone.
Here's a story of a man named Bruntz who covers Husker sports, boys and girls, like football and basketball, even weightlifting, like front squats and curls. Then one day, good old Bruntz called a talk show, and acting on what they thought was a hunch, John and Josh wanted to start a family. And now we get to talk to Michael Bruntz. It's Michael Bruntz. Michael Bruntz. Now we get to talk to Michael Bruntz.
Now I realize we are on the radio because we're always on the radio and on the stream. But now that we're live on YouTube, Stibbs TV, Stibbs, you've gone. You totally hoard out now. You went out and bought one of those Bronco masks, didn't you?
I didn't buy this. My mom made it.
Oh, Mrs.
Oh,
Stibbs,
that's a homemade one.
Yeah, she did a good job, huh?
Let's take a closer look at that. That is pretty good. What do you think, Bruntz? Can Stibbs' mom make you one too?
Yeah, I'd take one of those.
She's pretty bored. She might do it.
I like that your Stibbs has the. I like how you have to put it on. You know, the ones that we got from work, you have to tie them, and then they come untied and all sorts of stuff. That's pretty nice.
A lot easier. I like it.
Yeah, fancy.
That's not bad. That's not bad. It matches your hat.
Does.
Yeah.
And your shirt.
Speaking of hats, what are you going with today, Bruntz? We always like to comment on the hats.
The an old school Hartford Whalers hat.
Oh,
no. That's a Hartford Whalers hat?
Yeah.
I've never seen that. Oh my God!
Like, what's the fancy schmancy store that has the whale on it? What's that store called? Do you know?
The whale store? I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called.
Whale store. Let's see what it's called. Vineyard Vines. I thought it was Vineyard Vines for a second.
The Whalers already had one of the coolest logos in all of sports. I didn't realize that they did an alternate logo that looked like that with an actual whale and then ERS at the end of it, which is funny.
They had a nice goal celebration song too, and the green, the horrible green jerseys that were still pretty awesome.
What was their?
I don't know. Look it up. I'm not going to sing it, but it was. If you just Google like Hartford Whalers goal song, and it's catchy. It gets in your head.
John, did you decide to wear an entire Cubs uniform for the show?
Yeah, you had the pants on.
I did. This is my 1978 road uniform throwback. It's the blue with the white pinstripes. They broke these out in 2016 when the Cubs played at Oakland.
Stirrups? You were in stirrups right now?
I'm not wearing stirrups. I did not have the stirrups, but these were the road uniforms they wore in the late 70s, and they brought these back for a series in Oakland in 2016. I don't know if you know this, but the Cubs won the World Series in 2016.
Oh,
I heard about that.
Anyway, I fell in love with these because the A's were doing like a 70s throwback.
Those are really cool jerseys. Like the color of blue is different, and I love pinstripe uniforms. Yeah, those are really cool uniforms.
Now, of course, it looked a little odd because the whole get-up, I mean, head to toe, was blue pinstripes. And it took a while for people to get used to that. But man, when I saw them, it was like, damn, those are cool. So I had to go get me one. So I got me a Cubs jersey.
You got a name on the back, or is it?
Is it personalized?
Do I have a name on the
back?
Yeah.
71?
71.
Awesome.
For your age?
Yes, for my age, Josh.
You're older than Kirk Ferentz.
Which is why next year I have to have it taken back and put 72 on it.
You just get it updated every single year.
Yeah, I didn't think about that when I decided to put my age on there. Well, we're talking about wardrobe here. We got into this conversation a little bit earlier in the program when Gary was on.
Program.
Thank you. On the crossover, and we'll get into it a little later because we put a poll question up about changing the size of the stadium. There's been a conversation point this week about, So if Nebraska wants to save the sellout streak, but also make the stadium more comfortable, what would be like an acceptable capacity level? Have you ever thought, Michael, of any ideas that you think Nebraska needs to do with Memorial Stadium the next time they update it? And I'm not talking about the football facility, which is obviously on the drawing board.
Yeah, I think dropping the capacity a little bit would be okay. I think I'm really bad at math and like spatial reasoning and stuff like that. But how, if you gave everybody's butts like another like 6 inches, what would that cost you in terms of overall capacity? Is that like, I don't know, 5,000, 7,000, somewhere in there?
I would think so. Because I know, Josh, we did this subject once before.
Yeah.
And someone emailed us if like they changed out the whole bench seating with stadium seats and how much it would cost. And for some reason, the number 60,000 stuck in my head.
Well, I got a tweet earlier when we were talking about it from a listener named Tom, and he said that Sun Devil Stadium, they just reconstructed their stadium, and the seating went from 71,000 to 56,000. So they put all seat backs in. They added beer gardens in the end zones, yada, yada, yada. They literally tore it down and put it back together in a way. So now, how many of those seats were lost just because of the amenities of a beer garden versus how many were lost just by widening the seats? I don't know the answer to that, but I mean, that 15,000 seats lost just on that alone, that would knock Nebraska's down, and plus theirs starts at a higher number. So you're probably looking at about 70,000 people if they did it the same way.
Because I think you could, I mean, just anecdotally, it seems like for most games, the student section isn't full. I mean, I think you could take away some of that section, I guess, and widen seats there. I mean, I think maybe 80,000 is a good number. I mean, for Nebraska and making that math work, it's all about, do you add more, do you take away seats? Do you add more boxes so you're getting the donations that way? I mean, that's part of the conversation too. I think when you start kind of looking at what they could potentially do, I mean, you're going to have to, I think, reconfigure South Stadium in a pretty major way just because it's a total nightmare getting in and out of there. But yeah, I mean, I think if you knocked it down, started at like 10,000, gave everybody a little bit more space, I don't think that it would seem that much emptier in there by any means. So I don't know. It's always kind of hard to say. I'd say get it to 80,000, start there. And I think you'd have less issue with the sellout streak. I think everybody would be a little bit more comfortable. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Give me 80,000 as my starting point.
Bruntz, yesterday in the VIP room on Husker247sports.com, you mentioned more players are making their way back to Lincoln, but that also, that you having that in the story came on the same day that the Big Ten announced that they're pushing things back until at least June 1st. Any idea on what is actually happening right now with players and the type of workouts that they are maybe doing with each other that perhaps they shouldn't be, or any idea on what's actually happening with these guys that are in town and the ones that aren't?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the guys that aren't in town, I think it's still, I guess in the last week or so, it might have gotten a little bit easier as some states are opening up a little bit. I mean, It seems like, on social media, things like that, it's, guys working out at a field that's, kind of by themselves or with a small group of guys or something like that. I think for people who are in Lincoln still, and I think that's a pretty large portion of guys who are from the region or from the state, it's more, Nebraska being able to feed them and make sure that, at least from a nutritional point of view, guys are getting taken care of, which I think that's, obviously for Nebraska, that's a big piece of it for the amount of money that they dump into just feeding guys and making sure they're eating right. I think probably some, maybe some more unorganized stuff, in Lincoln. I think that's probably fair to say, but the facility is still closed. The Big Ten came out with their thing yesterday, like you said, and I think everybody's just kind of playing the waiting game a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think the bigger part of it to me is just having guys, in Nebraska. I know that was a big thing for Bill Moose, having athletes in the state rather than kind of spread out all over the place. And the nutrition part of it is huge to maintain whatever they were able to get done in winter conditioning.
Do we have any idea of what percentage of players are still around the program or still around the campus area, the Lincoln area?
Haven't heard. I mean, now that school's out or getting close to being out, maybe that changes a little bit. But I know that, when was it about a month or so ago, they said about half or a little less than half of all of the athletes were still around. So, I mean, I would expect that, as the summer goes on a little bit, that number would change. But I mean, for guys, the younger guys, I mean, I know a lot of them went home. Just because they're in the dorms and you're probably better off at home in that situation. But no, I haven't heard a percentage or number of what guys are actually around. But I'm expecting that number to continue to go up the longer this thing goes along.
Bruntz, before I brought you on, we were discussing the way that colleges have spent money over the last 15, 20 years and how now I imagine a lot of regrets are probably out there. Support staffs have ballooned, contracts have gotten longer, more guaranteed money. Nebraska has certainly spent a lot of money on fired coaches and administrators. How do you think this is going to change how Nebraska spends that type of money? It seems like as long as a football season is played, that football is kind of insulated and they'll still be able to have the support staff and they'll still be able to have, the things that they want and need to perform. What could this mean though for sports on the lower level, certainly the Olympic sports? What do you think that this is going to mean for them?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a limited football season or there's a football season without fans, I think that's where you run into some issues if you're a non-revenue sport. And I think that, for a school like Nebraska, you're going to have to, maybe not like Nebraska, but certainly, a group of 5 school, you're going to have to get really creative with the way that you schedule, I think, because that's where, the majority of your money is being spent is getting from place to place. And that's part of the conversation back when a lot of the kind of the restructuring of college sports was being talked about. And you're like, oh, well, yeah, Boise State's going to join the Big 12 or whatever. And it's fine in football. But when you're on a weeknight having to get from Boise to Lubbock, Texas or something like that for a volleyball match or whatever, I mean, that's a significant strain on an athletic department. So I think as long as they have football, places will be okay. But I mean, I think a lot of these schools are going to have to start to get creative about the way they schedule. I know there was maybe, I think it was UConn and some schools on the East Coast in baseball were already talking about how do you kind of schedule with, schools outside of your conference, but kind of in the same region, kind of play essentially a round robin schedule to make that work. And I think you're going to have to get kind of creative and do stuff like that. I think for, maybe looking long term. I mean, if a school was thinking about maybe cutting a program, I think this probably puts them over the top a little bit. I mean, I think, Cincinnati cutting its men's soccer program, I think you're going to see some more, things like that happening. And even at the lower levels too. I mean, you're seeing a lot of smaller NAI schools that are just shutting down altogether right now. So it's everybody's going to have to get creative, and it's going to be bad if there's not some kind of football season this year, because these schools need that TV money in a pretty bad way.
All right, I'm going to try an experiment here, so pardon me if this doesn't work out very well. But we would talk, we talk about hats every time we're on. Bruntz wearing the cool old school Hartford Whalers hat. So I'm going to attempt to show you guys something here. It's going to look a little weird here at first because
make sure you close those windows, John, if you have them open.
I'm very.
But I'm going to take this. Can you see it?
Oh, why is the Yankees logo so tiny?
Take a look at this hat. Now, I'm going to describe it for the people listening on the radio, but
it looks like it was made for Kyle Shanahan.
Pretty much. It is a dark green and white Yankees hat with a very small Yankees NY logo on the front. But look at the size of the new era logo on the side of the hat.
It's a $45 hat? No, thank you.
So I'm taking it we're all out on this hat.
I don't know. The Yankees logo looks really big to me.
It does look like a Kyle Shanahan hat, Stips.
They couldn't make the logo any smaller on the Yankees. I can still see it.
But why would anyone want a New Era logo that's that big on the side of their helmet or on the side of their hat
Or helmet.
or helmet?
Yeah. And there's never mind.
Rob Lowe might be interested in it.
Oh yeah, Rob Lowe's a big.
I
fan
don't
of
care
that.
about the team. I like the product itself.
Why
I'm a
didn't they
fan
put
of
it on
brand.
both sides of the hat? I feel like that would really make this hat even better.
Yeah, that looks like a hat Darren Ravel would wear. He's a big brand guy.
Well, it's ironic you mentioned that because I believe this was a retweet from Darren
Of
Ravel.
course it was. Go away,
Look how
Darren.
great this branding is. Hats
I didn't.
off to New
I didn't-
Era, no pun intended.
I didn't think of the Kyle Shanahan thing. I didn't think of the Kyle Shanahan thing when I saw the small logo on the front, but that is hideous. So we're all out. We're not going to go out. You wouldn't get an Oakland A's hat that looks like that.
I will not. That's bad. That's really bad.
And it's $45 bucks.
Yeah, that is an expensive hat. What
Was
a
that
waste
marked
of
down
money.
from 60?
I hope not.
Imagine what the price would be if they put that big New Era logo on the other side too.
Oh my
That's true.
gosh, yeah, right, double in price.
All right, Michael Bruntz, you can of course read him at Husker 24/7. Bruntsy, we always appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. I'll wear a full A's uniform next week for you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruntz.
Well, I mean, okay, before you go, now look, Josh has gone full he's gone full Detroit Red Wings.
Big hockey guy.
Stibbs.
I'm committing the ultimate Jack Mitchell sin. I have my Broncos mask, but
Oh, he's got his duck shirt on.
whoops.
Quack, quack, quack. And there it is.
John's gone full Cubs.
I've gone full Cubs today. So, hey, it is what it is.
Never go full Cub.
Stop it. Bruntsy, thanks. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you
Hi,
guys
Bruntz.
next. Yep.
There he is, Michael Bruntz of Nebraska 24/7 Sports, Husker
You gave
24/7.
everybody butts like another 6 inches.
Yeah, people
Matt,
love
did you
the
think that
Bruntz.
was still him for a second? Your
I
face
did. I was
You're like,
nervous
"Oh."
that he was saying something. Yeah, Matt says, get everybody's butts another 6 inches. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Amazing Daniel says, give everybody's butt another 6 inches. I am in.
If you gave everybody's butts another 6 inches.
Thank you, Bruntz. We needed a new drop, man. That is so good.
Bruntsy's not. He's kind of been immune from the whole drop syndrome, hasn't he?
He has. He's very professional, is Michael Bruntz. Not today, though. We got you, Bruntz.
We got you. All right, that'll do it for this portion of the streaming experience on YouTube and Stibbs TV. But in about an hour, a little less than an hour, Blake Lawrence, former Nebraska linebacker, now the founder of Open Doors. We're going to talk name, image, likeness, because this is the company that Nebraska is going to partner with and try to find ways to help name, image, likeness be an advantage for student athletes at Nebraska. I look forward to this conversation. So he'll be joining us on the video stream. Not sure if we'll have Nate Klaus on the video stream this week, but he will join us on the phone on the Dingman's Collision Center hotline. So we will still talk recruiting with Nate Klaus. More coming up. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone.